Hi everybody! I know this isn't going to be the happiest of videos, but it's something that's very important to me and completely changed my life and my view on everything. The day that I'm posting this is the 3-year anniversary since everything started. Now you may or may not have seen my first video that I posted about this about 2 years ago, but really it was just a slideshow of pictures going through the entire process, and that's all it was. And I haven't really sat down and talked about it, and I've tried before, but I just couldn't do it. I would just like to say I also don't know if I'm going to be getting every fact right. A lot of my memory is completely blacked out from that, and I don't remember a lot of the time that I was in the hospital. So if I say something wrong, I'm sorry, but this is what I remember. So we can start from the very, very beginning of how this all happened. So November 15th, it was my best friend's birthday, and I was at her house and we were on our way to church. And when we stopped into the parking lot, I looked at my hands and I saw that there were rings and splotches everywhere. We were all really confused and we thought it was just like a regular rash that would go away with like lotion or something or Benadryl. We sat through church and I would look at my hands and the spots would be moving and changing, and I went into the bathroom and I washed my hands and nothing happened. Then we went to go out to lunch and we went to Home Depot, and that's when my best friend and I went into the bathroom so that she could see if the rash had spread to anywhere else. And then we noticed that it was on the back of my thigh. So we were really confused as to what this even was, because it wasn't itching, it wasn't raised, it was just there as if someone had drawn on my hand. But we didn't really pay a lot of attention to it, and we just went back to her house and enjoyed the rest of the day. So her mom gave me some Benadryl to take home, and then my mom picked me up early and we went to the pharmacy to try to get some cream that would help it go away, to see if it was like an allergic reaction. We didn't know what it was. So when I got home, I took a shower to see if everything was just gonna go away. That's when I noticed that it was all over my arms up to my shoulders. This was spreading really, really quickly, and I didn't know what was going on. We just thought it was a rash that would go away, and it wasn't. A few days later, more symptoms were coming along. My muscles were aching to where I couldn't hold a water bottle, and I couldn't get out of bed or even move my legs without being in pain. The 15th was on a Sunday, and this was by Wednesday. On Wednesday, I came down with a fever of 104.8. And if you aren't really good about knowing what that really means, that temperature is extremely high and you should be going to the hospital for that. What my mom did was she put me in an ice bath. I just barely remember this, only because it was so cold. She called my doctor, she called different emergency rooms to see what she should really do with the situation, and we ended up going to an emergency room, and by the time that we had got there, my fever went down by a lot and I was okay, but my muscles were still killing me and I still had the rash. So we stayed into the emergency room for a few hours, got some blood work done, and the closest thing that they could come up with was that I had gotten Lyme, which didn't make any sense, but it's the closest thing that they got. So we got the antibiotics and we went with it. But the medication that they had given me just wasn't helping. Then by Thanksgiving time, I sat in the living room and watched my family eat dinner because I was too sick, but my cousin sat with me while I only ate mashed potatoes. That's another thing. I had absolutely no appetite. I would only eat limes and lemons and grapes and apples and just only fruits, and I lost 5 pounds in 1 week. By November 30th, we had an appointment with an infectious disease doctor. When we got there, I was gone. There's a picture of me sleeping on the bed while the doctor was in the room. But while they were taking my vitals, you know, my blood pressure and my weight and everything, all of that, had to take my vitals again because they wanted to make sure that they were right, because it was completely abnormal. They told me and my family that I had to get in a wheelchair, and they were moving me to the ICU, like, emergency room area. This is the part that I stopped remembering, really. I only remember certain parts of it. I remember being wheeled down the hallway that kind of reminded me of a zombie apocalypse into the ICU area, and I remember them having to pick me up and put me onto an ice bed, and I remember getting a giant syringe in my arm full of salt water that they were pushing and pushing and pushing into my arm, and I remember it being so painful. I was in ICU for about 5 or 6 days, and I barely remember any of it. And the only thing I really remember besides what I just told you was looking at my nurse and seeing him in the hallway and keeping an eye on me. But really, I don't remember anything else. And while I was in ICU, they had diagnosed me with my disease. It's called HLH, and honestly, I don't know how to say the actual name, but I will put it at the screen right here. We didn't know what it was, and we didn't know how severe it was. We were just told that it's going to be treated exactly like cancer, with chemotherapy and steroids. They asked us when we would like to start, and that night at 2 a.m. they came in with my first chemotherapy treatment. So then came the day that I would be able to move to the oncology floor and away from the ICU. My sister and her best friend ran up to my new room with Christmas decorations, and they completely decorated my entire room with different cards that I got and balloons and the lights hanging around my room and different Christmas stickers that they put on the wall, and it was amazing. From November 30th to December 11th, I believe, I was in the hospital, waking up in the middle of the night and having my mom help me go to the bathroom and looking out the window and watching the birds and talking to my dad about them. And while we were in the hospital, of course this isn't exactly something that I went through, but my parents tell me about this, that one day they went into the cafeteria at the hospital and they Googled the illness that I had, looked at everything about it and what it was, and then the mortality rate, and it was very high, and realized how close we were to losing me. How fast something can happen, because in less than a week I went from being perfectly fine to landing in ICU. It was progressing really well. They told me that I would be out of the hospital before Christmas. They told me that I could go home the next week. They asked me if I wanted to go home tomorrow. And this was insane because of how quickly I was responding to all the treatments and how quickly I was feeling better. Still in so much pain. In the hospital, I had about 7 procedures. I had a spinal tap, which I didn't even know had happened because of how knocked out I was. And I had a bone marrow aspirate, and I had muscle removed from my thigh, and I still have the scar from that. And that hurt a lot. And I had a port put in, and so much, and I was in so much pain, and it was all so scary because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was happening to me because I barely even pick up my phone, and it hurt to text my friends, and I was too scared to ask questions. But as I was saying, I was getting out of the hospital, and the picture that we took while it was moving day kind of I was standing with my parents in my room, and I was in so much pain just standing, and I was smiling my way through it. But if you look at those pictures, I think that you can still see how much pain I was in. Not really back to normal. I had missed a month of school. The way I was going back anytime soon, and we didn't know when I would be back actually. Time went by. Every week on Tuesdays I would get my chemotherapy treatments done. So taking my steroids every day, which caused me to gain 37 pounds at the end. And that's really hard for a 13-year-old girl. I was in middle school and I was already going through puberty and just changing and trying to figure out who I am, and then this happens to me. I go through more change than the average person would. God, it was hard. It was so hard to watch yourself gain so much weight and watch your hair just fall out every single day, and watch your mom try to hide your hair from you as it falls out while she's brushing her hair. Everyone to think right now what it would feel like when you were in 8th grade and to start losing all of your hair and gain 37 pounds in just 2 or 3 months. Like, that is to completely see 2 different people. Myself as 3 different people. There's the first person from when I was born until November 15th. Then from then on to about of 9th grade, a completely different person. That's me when I was sick and depressed and just not happy and not living life the way I wanted it to be, and going through so many changes and to figure out where I went, who old Emily was, and what happened to her, because it seemed like she just disappeared. I have a third person, and that's from middle of 9th grade to now. Pictures of myself before November 15th. All I see is before I got sick. My hair a lot, and I know I've gotten a lot of it back now. Down to my hips and so much, and I'm not happy with my hair because I want it to grow back to where it was before I got sick. Because that's the part of me that I haven't gotten back. And I know that it's just hair, and hair grows, and it was such a big part of me that I loved so much, and I lost it all. And as a 13-year-old girl, you're always focused on how you look and how pretty you are and all of that. And for me to go from hair that's down to my hips to me balding is so incredibly hard. And then got my second bone marrow aspirate. The doctor told me that I had secondary HLH, which is a good thing. It's not genetic. And then that's when I decided to cut all of my hair off. Now, I didn't go to the hairdresser or anything to help me. I just went into my bathroom and pulled all my hair back. Got the scissors and cut it, just like that. And then it was gone. And I took whatever strands were at the top and I matched it up with the rest of my hair and I cut it. And I've gotten maybe 2 haircuts, and not too scared to have it go any shorter. And the second haircut was just a trim, and even then I looked at myself in the mirror and my heart sank to my stomach, and because I just thought it was too short, and it was just a trim, like maybe half an inch was off, and I was having like a little bit of an anxiety attack. I looked at it and I told myself that it looked fine, it looks the same, and no one would even notice except for me. But to this day I'm still kind of scared to get a haircut. I do want to say though, to all the girls that complain about how short their hair is or how they miss their hair because they cut it, that was your choice. And I don't want to be rude or anything, but honestly, suck it up, because it hurts so bad when you don't have the choice. But you had the choice, and I don't know what to tell you other than get over it. Because I'm sick of hearing people complain about how they miss their hair and whatever. I miss my hair too. I miss my hair every single day. And sure, people say that I have my hair back, but I don't. I didn't have control over anything that was happening to me. Okay. So to conclude this video, I want to give a few tips to people who have someone in their life that is going through something similar. If whoever you're close to lost their hair and is growing back, don't compliment their hair. Please, do not. For me, it was the most annoying thing because I would be constantly reminded that I didn't have my hair back. And sure, people are like, oh, you have your hair back, it looks so cute, it looks really nice, I love it a lot. I don't. And I'll say thank you with a smile, but please don't. Don't mention that they've lost weight, don't mention that they gained weight, don't mention that they look healthy, don't mention that their hair is growing back, don't mention anything. Because when I was going through it, I would look at myself every day. Whether it was in the mirror or just my looking down and seeing my legs and my arms, and I would just see someone that wasn't me. When I wasn't looking at myself, other people were reminding me about it and telling me different things about how I look or just something about it or complimenting me. And honestly, I hated it. Sorry that this video was kind of a tough one to sit through. Thank you so much for watching, because this is a really important video to me, and this is the first time I've actually filmed a video about it, sat through, did the entire thing, and didn't give up on it, and it feels really good. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.